That's not right. There we go. Okay. Time to get started. Oh, just gonna tweet this out that we are live, assuming everything's working okay. Oops, that doesn't work. That's not the right link. Okay, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for hanging out. Okay. That's a little quiet, isn't it? Let's get that turned up a bit. Input is this. Output is also this. There we go. You guys hear me okay? Is this working? It's got to be working, right? Why can't I hear myself? Okay. All right, I'm going to assume everything's good to go until someone says otherwise, I guess. One more thing to try. Okay, that's turned up. Okay, everyone, thanks for coming out. Thanks for hanging out, as always. If you're new here, essentially what we do is we got this live chat that we do once a week, in where we're just kind of hanging out, talking about the markets, trying to figure out what's next in the markets, in crypto, in FX, in the overall stock market. Just trying to go through and say, hey, what's on the go here? So, if you're new, if you don't know who I am, my name is Michael Noss. I'm a chartered market technician and quantitative trader, which essentially just means I use quantitative stuff to try to figure out kind of what's going on in the market. I use algorithms and scans and all of that to figure out kind of what's next. And then from there, we end up kind of zooming into a little bit of lower time frame, or whatever you want to call it, and go into the actual charts, right? So is where most people will say, okay, I look from a fundamental point of view to try to figure out what's going to go on in the markets, and then I zoom in and use technicals. I do the same thing, but instead I say, let me find out from a statistical point of view what I think is going to happen next, and then we will zoom in from there. So, and as always, before I get into it, the last thing I'll talk about is that this is, as always, a preview for what I do over each night at Stats Edge Pro, which link is in the description below, which also has a link for, whatever it is that you're, whatever it is that you, sorry, just getting everything set up. Link in below for whatever you see me use as trading softwares. So all my trading softwares are in the link below, as well as Stats Edge Pro, which is for $2 a day. You basically get the watch list that I'm going to create here each and every night. So I apologize for stuttering and just being a bit out of it. But for those who don't know, I've got a new baby, my first baby, who's just not sleeping ever at all, and my whole life here is in disarray because I'm trying to stay healthy at the same time. So if I can get a sympathy like for the stream, that would be fantastic. So let's just grab into it. We're going to move this over, and then I'm going to, I always forget, but I need to make this sidebar a little bit wider here, and then we go from there. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Just a few problems we got to sort out. I'm sure it will all be fine. Right. Luna. The Luna price makes no sense. I see it like 4 cents some places, some other cents the other place. If you guys want me to talk about what happened, I can. Just don't trade it if you want. Don't YOLO into Luna, please. So we always start with crypto. I just like to go over that first, and then going into FX, and then the stock market is kind of the routine that I like. To do. So let's go and just quickly. I know that. Let's quickly get into it there. So we initially were a while ago talking about this bear flag that was going on in Bitcoin and how I shorted this breakdown, which was amazing. This has been the best trade for me anyway in the last little while. Crypto's actually been pretty good for trading recently. The issue being that it's my crypto account is obviously smaller than my equity accounts, just because it's it's a bit of a riskier kind of area. So anyway, I took this short here on Bitcoin. I covered a large chunk at this $30,000 area, and that goes into kind of my analysis now. And it's really just, it's all about, I believe, this $30,000 area. All about 30K. And again, the reason you'll see me take notes and the reason you'll see me do this, where I take these screenshots, is again because every night I do a blog post for Stats Edge Pro that talks about what my thoughts are of the market and all of that. I may actually do a short video with that from time to time. If there's anything interesting going on in the market, I may add that in as part of the service. We've got a trading room. Again, none of this is an alert service. I don't believe in those. So if you're looking for someone to say, buy here, sell here, it's not it. You get access to my watch list every night, what I'm looking at for stocks and crypto. And then you also get a live Q&A once a month, which is just for members. It's like a 3 or 4 hour event sometimes. And access to my scans. So my scans, a little trading room, which is great to just ask questions. You can ping me anytime. There's a couple other really smart traders in there that can almost recite what I'll answer for most things verbatim at this point. Lastly, I keep forgetting about all this when I plug things. I may change this time frame to Sunday evenings. Let me know what you guys think about that. But just trying to play around with a time frame that works now as a new dad, right? When can I not have it interfere so much with family life, but still kind of get the most amount of viewership and all of that as things go. All right, so Bitcoin, all about 30K. That's all we really need to know. And really, when it comes to the rest of the Forex market, I'll do some scanning here, but a lot of it's the same. They all, people always get shocked when this happens, but I'll just tell you, just straight up, markets crash, everything goes to 1, right? Which the saying, right, everything goes to 1, just references correlation, right? The highest correlation you can get of anything is a 1, right? An inverse correlation is a -1. No correlation is a 0. So you'll hear a lot traders saying everything goes to 1. And basically what they mean is that in a more boring market, you get a lot of things that become uncorrelated. When it comes to crashes or like dramatic sell-off events, everything goes to 1. And again, what I mean by that is that everything will be correlated, right? There'll be near no place to hide. Now, stocks, you have an advantage where not always does everything get correlated all at the same time, because they do different things, they're in different industries, all this. I know these different coins have different goals and they have different things that they want to do, but right now crypto is getting treated like a risk-on asset. The correlation between crypto and the Qs is like 90-something%. And the correlation between all of the other cryptos has increased as well. So For people may have noticed from the Stats Edge Pro is that I've really not been including many crypto charts in there, and it's simply because everything looks pretty much the same, except Luna, obviously, which that had its implosion. And again, if there's anyone out there who's still confused about what happened there, I can explain a bit. But again, a lot of it's just all kind of been the same type of thing. I'm a relative strength trader, which means that I need to see things in uptrends. I don't buy things that are crashing like this. I need to see some sort of an uptrend, and I want that thing to be stronger than a lot of other things that are going on. Right? As Brian Shannon will always say, don't buy stocks in downtrends. I'm sure he'd also say don't buy cryptos in downtrends. So at the very least, if people are wondering what I'm looking for to get involved back in the crypto market, is I want to see a bounce, and then I want to see a low, and I want to see that low be higher, and then I want to see us starting to move up, right? So I want to see bop, 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 right? I don't ever buy as things are crashing. I will buy sometimes rounded bottoms, because a rounded bottom is a downtrend into a sideways trend into an uptrend. So sometimes I'll buy that. Sometimes I will do what I call my higher low play, which is just very simply look for a higher low, get involved. Mostly I want to see things in some sort of sustained uptrend, right? So you can see Ant, I was watching here way back earlier in the year. I believe I took this one over 8 because back then it was in this nice rounded area, but it was still holding relatively strong. So taking that trade. So it can't all be FOMO, can it? It is and it isn't, right? There's algorithms that trade crypto, just like there's algorithms that trade stocks. But a lot of it is, you always have to understand the reason that relative strength works. Go full screen for a rant. The reason I believe that relative strength works, and a lot of that this works, has a lot to do with tax, actually, which is kind of boring. But so if I'm a hedge fund manager and I have, a list of stocks, and I'm like, okay, I need to raise some cash because I think the market's going to be bearish for a long period of time. I can either sell the stuff that I'm up in and then pay the government, or anything that I'm down in, I can sell that. So that's, in my opinion, why stocks in downtrends end up remaining in downtrends. That's one of many reasons. The other thing is that, people have this bag holder mentality that if a stock goes down and then it bounces, they say, if I can get some of my money back, I'm going to sell into the next bounce, right? And then if enough people do that, it will go down, and so on and so forth as things go on. But the other thing is, if I'm looking at a long list of, if I've got 30 things in my portfolio, and I go and I look and I say, well, that's in an uptrend, and that's in an uptrend, and that's in an uptrend. If I sell these things, I have to hit, I have to pay the government. If these things are in downtrends, then I just go, okay, well, right, let them go. It's in a downtrend. If I sell it here, I can recoup tax for later, and away we go. Again, it's my theory. There's many reasons that it happens. There's also just relative strength traders like me who will only buy stuff that's in uptrends. Maybe RS is the market screaming way to buy this. It is my style, right? It doesn't mean that buying dips doesn't work. It doesn't mean that you can't be a counter trend trader. I know a couple, and they're really good. The thing I will say about counter trend trading is you got to be quick, right? If you're buying Luna, because if we go into the 30-minute chart, if you're buying these dips in Luna, right, this dip from here to here was 800%. Is that right? And then this dip here was 600%. And then how much are we off lows here? According to BitMEX, we're 500% off lows. So there is a lot of money to be made here. The issue is you got to be fast. It's very emotional, and it's just not for me. So my way of saying, yeah, is looking at the market for screaming buys is saying, what are they not selling? What is strong? And then just let me gravitate towards that. Again, it's not going to be as interesting or sexy or anything like that, but it's what works for me. It's my style. And again, I have reasons why I believe that that this works. Okay, guys. So I think that's going to be it for the crypto market. I did do some scanning earlier, and there's like it all crashed together, right? It all moves together, and it's always been this way. It is like the whole everything goes to one. It has always been this way. Again, the stock market is a little bit. Sometimes you can find pockets. I remember I started trading around the 2008 crash, and everything tanked except oil. Right? You could play some oil names. You could do some stuff from time to time. But relative strength still works then, because if they're selling down everything, then what I do is I wait. I spend a lot of time waiting. Again, anyone in the room will tell you there's been a lot of days where I'm just like, nah, nothing for me today. And I'm just not interested. I've done a lot of nothing. Um, and then what I'll do is when the market starts to bounce, I'll just look at when they were selling, what did they sell the least? It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be buying things that are breaking out to new highs or anything. It's just, okay, they sold everything and they sold this a little bit less. And away we go. So that's it. Again, I just think we'll just summarize. Again, I like to summarize before I go to the next security, but I think it's just all about 30,000 on Bitcoin. This kind of zone in here. And that's why I love this drawing tool. I want to get this drawing tool on trade ideas, but it's all about this zone right here. If we break below that zone, then geez, we could go. We could go, what, 20,000 was the 2018 high. We could get into a range like this. There's a lot of room down to go. I'm not one that's going to scream that Bitcoin's done or whatever. To me, I got some, but I missed the last Bitcoin crash to 4,000. I remember saying I should just put 10 or 20 grand in here at 4,000, and that obviously would have been an amazing move, but I didn't. So yeah, again, I don't think this is done forever, but it's a bear market, and bear markets and equities can take like 10 years to recover. So maybe the last bear market in crypto took like 3-4 years to recover. So it's why I'll never be a hodler. If I was in Bitcoin as this thing was rocketing, I would be selling some and just be okay if it goes to 1 million. Now in the FX markets, everything is still governed by the dollar being an absolute beast, right? We had this big rounded bottom that I had been talking about. Then that came into this cup and handle. We broke out of that. We had a bull flag. We broke out of that. We had another bull flag. We broke out of that. So I'm just going to leave my note here about the USD to the moon, which is hilarious because the ultimate inflation hedge just seems to be dollars, which, if you talk to any economist out there, they would tell you the one thing you don't want to own with inflation being super high is dollars, because logically it makes the most sense to not be in dollars right now. But again, price action trumps everything. We're going up, we're going up. Okay, now into the equity markets. ETF Watcher. So again, what you saw was TrendSpider, which I use for mobile alerting. They have mobile apps, so I can be alerted and stuff on the fly. They have crypto, which Trade Ideas does not yet. I know that's being worked on. I'm not going to give an ETA on it because could be ages, but. And then this is Trade Ideas. This is what I use for scanning. It's also the tool that I use for actually trading, placing orders. They've got an auto trading system that I can run some things through. And again, links to both of those in the description below if you're interested. Trade Ideas, actually, if you go to that link, they're having a $11 sale for 2 weeks. So you get the whole program for 2 weeks for $11. as a what they call a test drive. It's basically just, hey, come play, see if it's something you like. If it's something you like, great. If not, it's fine. You're only out $11, so who cares? If $11 to try trading software is too much for you, you probably shouldn't be. You should probably be more looking at longer term investments, I think. So, what's super interesting, and if this holds, I am going to you're going to see me become like a bigger Anchored VWAP guy than Brian Shannon. One thing is I've been playing with Anchored VWAP a lot, and I'm getting really, really interested. If anyone tunes into me for any length of time, you'll see that my charts are always changing. Sometimes there's indicators on there, sometimes there's not. I don't really use indicators ever, but I always like to look at when someone says, hey, this is what I trade. I always like to look at it and see what I can bring into my own trading. I think trading is kind of like how Bruce Lee looked at martial arts, right? It should have, you learn all these different things and you pull in what works for you and leave out the rest. And Brian Shannon's a mentor of mine. There's a book up there, and he's a friend. He's been on this Anchored VWAP thing forever. I've been playing with it a bit more, and I've been loving it. But so you don't know, an Anchored VWAP is the average market participants where they exist from the low. So I just drew this Anchored VWAP from the COVID lows, and you can see how perfectly we bounce off that. It is almost eerie. And what else is eerie? If we look at the chart that I shared into the room, and I could go back if people need proof, but this has been on there for a very long time. I don't know why these always turn gray. So I've had this drawn in here forever, and I've had this Anchored VWAP as a target note forever, ever since we broke down out of this area. And it's super, super important, right? And, that bounce right there, that's insane if that's true. And if you look at it, right, IWM, that's the Anchored VWAP from the COVID lows. You can see it worked as a while. This still holding is no longer valid, obviously. That was back in that area. But you can see how well it held. And when it broke, that's kind of, you had a nice big flush out of it. So there's definitely something here, right? The level does not have to be an important level. The market clearly had a reaction from the Anchored VWAP. Yeah, like that's the thing, that's what, like, so I like to take an indicator and I like to test it mathematically, but you got a good point there, right? That Anchored VWAP must be important, but it's always, where do you anchor it from is the question, right? So there's a bit of, it makes it really hard for me to like statistically test, simply because it's very subjective in the way that you draw it, right? It's not just like, hey, it's your year-to-date Anchored VWAP is interesting, or your, most recent lows for whatever period is interesting, which is, something I'm playing with. But yeah, it's, this was important on the IWM, it was important on the Qs, right? It held there for a while, and then when it broke, away it went. And then now on the SPY for at least 2 days, and this might be all that there is, but you get a rally out of there as well, right? But that Anchored VWAP hasn't changed for a while. Yeah, the Trader TV guys sent me an email later in the day to come on, but I missed it, and I felt kind of bad. I can show you guys that presentation if you want it, but it was funny because the presentation was essentially saying, if us bouncing off this Anchored VWAP could be an interesting. It was basically all about how I think we may actually have a kind of sustained rally here, and yesterday I think confirmed that a little bit. But let's just start going through and just make the notes. So. So, at least the thing I like about Brian's trading style with this is it's, even though it's subjective where you draw the anchored view app from, which allows kind of learning and skill creation, it is more objective where the fact that, I know how Brian trades, and basically he would be looking for, something to base out for a bit on top of this and then push higher, and he would buy that breakout and then know exactly where you're wrong. So it keeps you uh, kind of in a trend, away it goes, right? So it's very interesting. Again, just insanely, like, what is the anchored VWAP's 384, and that low is 385. So it's like 50 cents it came within, and then bounced. So that will be very interesting to see if that continues. Now let's just go through. So this is just a sector watch list that I do. Again, UUP, we already talked about when we went over Forex and Bitcoin, but right, big rounded bottom. We are right at, I think this is like, yeah, mega highs. So everyone who was saying that the dollar is dead, you should go check on them, because holy smokes. USO, this one still is interesting to me, right? If I go in here and then we go to USO, you can see I've had this drawn in for ages, and I just have breakout watch. So I think I'm just going to continue that idea. We're below the anchored view app from this high right here, or we're above it, sorry. So that's out of the way. We've got this flat top up around 83. If we can get above that, again, oil still seems to be the best name in town. Hey man, how's it going? Yeah, so let me know what you guys think about the time zone. I'm thinking that Sunday nights might be interesting because the futures will open up again. I could talk about that as well. But DBC, which is a just Invesco fund that tracks commodities. You can see how high up that is. So again, commodity super cycle still needs to be a thing. K-Web is getting kind of interesting. I was going to talk about this one on Trader TV as well, where, let's go back to straight lines. Right, K-Web, you can see kind of my higher low play, right? Broke down, placed a higher low. If we break this area, maybe it's time. I don't think I will get involved in China stuff just because of all the delisting and tanking of their securities and everything that happened. But, cane looking strong, soybeans looking strong, right? Anything that's got a commodity in it, it's going to be the way to go. Again, a lot of the other stuff that I was going to talk about on Trader TV is like this ARC, or this TAN and ARC are both hitting these kind of important zones and holding, right? Best guess NQ up or down Sunday night. Don't know. No idea. Again, I am to the point where I think that things could be, we could have a short-term tradable rally. Do you guys want to see the Trader TV? Let me see if I can get this. Brendan. Yes, I emailed Brendan. I feel bad because they did, what did they say? They wanted to have me back on at 4. Yeah. Apologies again for technical issues this morning by any chance. Yeah. They wanted me on at 4. My time, 3 Eastern, and I went, oh, whoops. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, Sunday isn't good. You mentioned Sunday. You wanted Sunday. Saturday afternoons are especially people. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. But I'm just thinking if I do it late enough on Sunday, if I do it like 8 my time. Yeah, so here's the Trader TV thing, just in case, just because everyone missed. So my first talk, and I know I don't know how I sounded. I never I never watch myself. I hate the sound of my own voice. But the idea here was simply, and it turned out so far correct, right? The idea was simply, and I've talked about this in the room all the time, that the biggest bounces happen in bear markets. So I was talking about how the NASDAQ composite here, and this was during the tech crash, right? 42% rally, 28% rally, 41% rally, 50%, right? 80% decline. But look at all these massive rallies. And this is a weekly chart. So each of these is taking a few months, right? So when I say we may be in for a tradable bounce, I'm not a bottom caller. I would never be. I think that's a fool's errand. But, the question is, okay, when you saw that this bounce occurred, there was still probably another 20, 30% in the market you could have done. If you saw this a bounce occurred, there's probably another 20, 30%. Same with this one. So I'm wondering, right, if that's what's gonna happen, right? And if you watch, right, this first one happened right where this breakout shelf happened. So you could have bought some there. The next one happened just right at the low of this range. The last one happened right at the low of this range. And then this one happened a little bit below the low of that range. So they all happened sensibly, kind of thing. Yeah, and then this was anchored view app from COVID lows. I talked a little bit about that, saying look how close we got to that. Again, before this rally on Friday, I was talking about how Burke B was holding on really well here. XLK had the anchored VWAP from COVID lows and this big support area. ARC, so ARC right now it's kind of up in this area, but ARC is coming back down to the support. Again, you'd be a fool to have held it from 40 back to 40, but right, holding right at this area. XBI holding right at this support area. So then I came up with some names. So I talked about Hood, which was up 30% yesterday. Netflix, I think that one was up yesterday too. So that was my Trader TV chat. It's a shame that I didn't get to give it because, they're not all great, but that one would have been pretty good. So when it comes to what I think is going to happen next week, which is a long way to answer that question, I think we may be in for a tradable bounce. And if we go out to the weekly chart, right, this was what I was talking about there. This support down here, which is support here, which is support here. And you can see that line right there, we bounce right off it. So, they're rallying. It's like the growth names brought us down. So if the growth names bring us back up, then and everything else is holding on. Like if we were getting a switch in the market where growth names were bouncing but value names were selling, well then we still may be in a problem. But if we're in an area where value names are holding strong and growth names are bouncing, well then that may, lift the market for. Again, I'm not going to just say, oh, ARC, you just buy it here and you hold it forever, right? A tradable bounce might just be like that, right? Might just be like this. These are just multi-week bounces that you could have made some good money on. Like this one's 100 to 123. So that's a 20% gainer. And this one's the same kind of way, 51 to 67. So another 20% gainer. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm actually just going to mark up this ARC chart just the way I did there. Because again, all of this, the reason I do all this is that it goes to, which is interesting because so what Stats Edge Trading is basically a look over my shoulder, because the blog post that I do every night, take these screenshots and all of this stuff, I would do this anyway. And that's kind of the point of it, is I want to show this is what I do. So when I say I only trade for the last hour of the day, it doesn't mean that that's where all my work is, right? I spend the rest of the day testing things and going through charts and whatever. And then I build my chart book up each and every night, and that takes like an hour plus. Right? So I'm just trying to see if there's any other indexes that look okay. And then there's a note at the end, right? So my note at the end will say something to the effect of talking about how ARC is the thing that brought us down. So if it's also the thing that bounces us, could be interesting. Again, not saying, go buy ARK. Not saying that this bear market is over. I think the bear market has existed for longer than a lot of people do, right? We've been talking about this on this stream and in the room forever, where it's like, if you're holding growth stocks, it doesn't feel like a bear market. It feels like the Great Depression. If you're holding value names, it doesn't feel like there's a bear market going on. It's just a correction. So it's really about where you're positioned, how bad this feels, and how bad it feels like it's been going on for. I already said that, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I might do Sunday evenings. I'm going to try it for next week anyway. Just do something like when the futures open at night, and just go for an hour at night. I'm skeptical of ARKs because of their risk management. What do you mean? Holding Apple as your cash equivalent doesn't meet your risk criteria? That's just such a sensible way to. If you don't know, Kathy's on the record of saying that they don't like to hold cash. What they do is they hold Apple because she feels that Apple is as good as cash. It's like, well, okay, for now, what if, people discover that iPads explode or something like that? XLV is healthcare, right? And again, I know Kathy gets a lot of shit. And it's not so much me ragging on her. It's about me ragging more on the people who just like buy and hodl stuff. You could have made a mint with ARK as long as you weren't chasing the overextended thing, kind of, right? They kept buying T-Doc. She buys everything on the way down. That's all she does. She is never frown, average down. That's the mentality. And again, it works until it doesn't, right? I would argue they're even more than intraday tradable. I would argue that you could, that's the thing is with this ETF, what's in the fund, right? You know what would be required to tank the fund. So for me, it's just, but that being said, I never trade these ETFs. The reason I go through these ETFs is because I want to know what sandbox I'm playing in when I scan through my individual thing. So the reason I look at ARK is, for me, ARK is a proxy for the shitty growth names, right? There's also an ETF out there. If anyone knows a ticker, let me know. But it's actually just called like unprofitable. Is that what it's called? There's a fund that's just called like unprofitable growth names or unprofitable tech companies. Let me look at this. And that might be another way to do it. I just use ARK. Unprofitable growth stock ETF, which is hilarious, by the way. No, I can't find it. Anyway, it exists. You can Google it. I won't tie up the stream with that. So yeah, so when I look at BerkB, it's not because I'm going to invest in BerkB, right? I trade equities because they have more of a beta of it. But what I use Berk for is it's a proxy for value names, right? And there's value ETFs you can use and everything, right? But BerkB is just a proxy for value names for me, just like ARK is a proxy for growth names, right? And specifically the shitty growth names, right? The ones that don't make a dime but are supposed to do something 10 years from now. right? So basically, what will happen is if I see a growth name now that's holding up well and is putting in some relative strength, or has a higher low, or around a bottom, or one of the things that I play, I go, okay, well, I have a theory that growth, shitty growth, could bounce for the next week or so. So then if I find something that I'm like, okay, this is a good looking stock, and it's also a shitty growth company, then I'm just more inclined to take that trade because of the whole universe we're in. So that's why I scan. And again, if you go back like years with this stream, it's the same process. I go through the crypto, I go through the stocks, and now we're going to do some scanning. So now is also the time where I'll take chart requests if you're interested. Because again, part of what Stats Edge Trading is access to my watch list, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to my watch list from yesterday, and we're going to see what needs to be, if anything, needs to be removed from it. And then we will add it back in. So we'll go public watch, and then we'll edit this. And so these were all the things on the watch list Friday. Boom. Okay. So wire, did I take some? I don't know. I was watching it, but I still kind of like the look of this one. Very simple idea in wire. This one's obviously holding up well when the market's tanking. I don't know if you can see this on stream very well, but there's a dotted line right here. You can see at the bottom. This is where earnings was announced. I love when I see, okay, this thing's selling off, earnings announced, it bounces, and then I get the first pullback. I'm not a fundamental guy. I don't believe in that, but the market is telling me that whatever they said for earnings they like. So it bounces up. It came back to the anchored VWAP from this recent low, held that, and now it's pushing higher. So just a nice little bull flag play is what I was thinking on wire. SMSC, this I actually did take some of, but I think I will leave it on watch. And this is, again, if there's a play that I could play forever, I say this on Twitter all the time, just because I know so quickly where I'm wrong, is just prior resistance, broken, pulled back to, acting as support, break off it, and away you go. So like, again, if it's just, it was taught to me way back in the day as a play called the two timing bastard, and it's just my favorite play. But I still like this because, I was looking around 52. It's still around there, so I'll leave that on the list. Waste management, I really like the look of this one. Again, VWAP from the top is coming down, being held from the one in the bottom. Whatever happened on earnings, they liked, and they sold off a little bit. So I still like the look of this one. In terms of current trends, doesn't pick my first. Yeah, well, that's right. Everyone's got their own thing, right? VSTO, I'm going to leave on the list here, but I like the look of this one. I did pick one up. This one is basically just a very typical rounded bottom, cup and handle, whatever you want to call it, play. And then if you look at it on the wider thing, this is a strong trend. Mattel. Oh, I didn't take Mattel, but maybe if it gets over that. I missed this one on Friday. But again, prior resistance, broken through, pulled back to, no need to overcomplicate. Rent-A-Center, of all places, looks really good. And I don't know, I'm not a fundamental guy, I don't care, but wouldn't this be like the doozy of a recession play, if that's what we're going to get? 29, 25. I'm just marking these up because I share all these charts too. So this is what the list would have done that on Thursday night, essentially. Merck, I love Merck. I love the look of it. It's essentially just a play off of this and what it was, 90, 85. Just talk about relative strength with He's another student of Brian Shannon. Thanks for him for showing me the channel. Love the content. Oh, awesome, man. Well, I know him from Twitter. I think we interact with Twitter unfrequently, but yeah. No, I am. It's funny. I wasn't even. Brian Shannon didn't know who I was for 10, 15 years. And to be honest, other than his book, I've never been in his room. I've never bought his education. What I love about him is that when I was learning to trade back in 2008, he was putting up. You can go to his channel right now and go to 2008. He was putting up videos, and I started 2006 is actually when I started to trade, right? So on the way up, he was very systematic about this is the way I trade, this is what I do, blah, blah, blah. When everyone was panicking, there was blood in the streets, he was like, this is the way I trade, this is what I do, right? When the market rallied, he was just very, he had a system and a mentality, and come hell or high water, he was sticking to that. I'm sure he's human, and every now and then he YOLOs irresponsibly. I'm sure that happens, right? But he's got an overall system. That system has changed a little bit with his kind of discovery of anchored VWAP, but that was years ago and it's been the same. But he's kind of got the same multi-time frame type of, and it's not so much that I just love the way that he trades, but I love that he's like, this is what I do. I trade with the trend. This is how I define it. Right? This 5-day moving out. He's just got certain systems in place, and then it's just the discipline of where he is way better than me, and I hope to get better at, is his timing of entries is just far superior. But yeah, so I bought that book like 100 years ago, and when it's like a first edition, and then I actually was speaking at an event, so it was like a huge honor to be speaking at an event when he was speaking at an event. So I actually got him to sign it. Hold on. I don't know if I ever showed this to you guys. Can you see that? Keep up the great work. What you do, yeah, it's pretty generic, right? Because we didn't know each other very well then, but we've kind of been to a lot of the same conferences together, had a couple beers, that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, Ian, if you haven't, listen, someone screen cap me hucking his stuff for him on my stream where I should be hucking my stuff. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Okay. And then send that to him. But yeah, a great book. If you're new to trading or technical analysis, it goes into kind of very basic kind of systems. It's an easy read. It's a very well annotated kind of a thing. He's supposed to be doing an updated one that has his anchored VWAP in it. I'm trying to get him to send me an early copy so I can read it, but I don't know if that will happen. But again, great book. Technical analysis using multiple time frames. It's a great trading book. But anyway, I used to watch his videos, and then he's actually one of the reasons I started making videos. So that's enough. It's enough bootlicking, I think, for the day. HRL, I took some of. Another kind of prior support or prior resistance acting as support play. This VWAP pinch. Again, I'm falling more and more in love with this as time goes on, but I'll leave this on the list because I still think if it's in this area, it's still interesting. So not removing anything from the list, and that's 8 symbols. So let's start scanning to add to the list. If you have anything that you're interested in, if there's anything that you want me to look at, any charts you want me to check out, go right ahead. Now's the time because I am looking to add. Again, I keep my list at maximum 15. It's a bit of an arbitrary number, I know, but my trading style is I sit down at 4 o'clock my time, 3 Eastern, and I go through all the charts, and if they're closing in an area that I'm interested in, I buy them, right? I don't have the patience or the discipline to watch everything all day. So I have my day trading strategy, and when I'm day trading, my swing trading stuff is shut off. And then at noonish, I shut off my day trading thing. I enjoy my afternoon. And then after that, I turn on my swing trading thing, and then I buy whatever I'm interested in. So OLN is interesting here. Nice rounded kind of base here. Merck, I already have my list. PSX, MDLZ. Here's another interesting kind of cup and handle type of pattern that you could look at. Schmuckers has been holding up. Beacon. Yeah, it's interesting. If we go into, I need to open up a new. Oh, I'm behind. Anytime, just FYI, if you're traded to this person, if it says new and it's green, it's letting you know that you are behind the 8 ball when it comes to your trading software. It's time to update. Server window. So TI strength. So if you don't know TI strength, it's a relative strength algorithm that I created. So basically what this is doing is based off this kind of algorithm, it's ranking the strongest stuff that's in the market. The algorithm itself has been performing insanely well. I did this tweet to really dog on people that it didn't get nearly as enough hate as I thought it would, which is kind of disappointing, to be perfectly honest. This one. Which I thought was funny. I don't know if everyone else thought it was funny as me did, but so this is where this one, come on. So, right, so this is the, right, got murdered, YOLOing into growth of meme names. So, yeah, so this is the TI strength algorithm year to date. 9%. Again, no magic. You can see that for about 3 months of the year, it just chopped around sideways. Then it got a good pop when the market kind of bounced there, and now it's chopping around sideways. So it's a good, again, I'd take that over the SPY return any day. So that's what this scan is here as well. So if you got trade ideas, or you're gonna use the link in the description below and do a test drive for trade ideas, you'll find this as well. Just when you're downloaded it, go to your channel bar and click in TI strength, and that will work really well. Again, just a relative strength system to say, hey, here's stuff going up. There's my HRL. The only thing I got to get my head around is a lot of these things always look overextended to me, but it seems to work. PPC, poultry. So food, we know that when we are scanning, and this is why I do the ETFs and then I go into the stocks, right? Remember when it was commodities were doing well, cane was doing well. Window here. It's finally not freezing in Canada. There's all these things that were doing super well in the commodity food type space. Now, I'm not going to add this to my list because I already have HRL, which is another food producer, right? Yeah, another food. So I don't want to go, oh, well, that's interesting. HRL is animal except poultry, and then PPC is poultry. So maybe this is one to look at. But yeah, again, I love that I don't care what happened here during earnings. That yellow line is earnings. Market seemed to like it because we were up, ready to go after that. Now we're putting in this kind of bull flag looking pattern. If we can hold above this area, kind of like 29, I'd be interested. So what would be 29, 27.50? Sure. PPC. What are we looking at from an a VWAP point of view. So I bet you it's actually holding this one. You can start to kind of see by eye. Right, so it's holding this one and it's just breaking out. So what did we say? 29, and then 27.50. So there we go with that. Oh, it's looking so nice out. I've got, I bought a gazebo that will protect me from the bugs. I upgraded my hammock. I bought one of those like outdoor patio sets. Like a couch. It's almost like a sectional for outside. Because my plan is I'm going to spend the entire summer working outside. As much as I can with the baby. H&R Block. Holy smokes. This was from TI Strength right in this area. But I looked at it and I said, that's overextended. You know, that might be something that might be a personal flaw I have to look at. Because bam, like what a move for such a boring company. Oh, we are into the 12s already. Okay. So that's interesting. A couple other scans that I like from here. I like the Bull Flag scan, and I like the Bollinger Band, the squeeze scan. For people who don't know, maybe you used trade ideas a while ago, but you haven't recently. This window right here is what we call the Market Explorer. Basically, Trade Ideas has this really cool new tool where I can go back in time and I can like reference the high, low, open, close, and volume of any candle going back like 20 years. Now, we can't give this to clients because of the immense kind of computer processing power it takes up. Like I have crashed the servers that I'm on many times, just myself. So it's not something we can really give to other people, but what I get to do with it is I can build like these insane scans, and the list of scans is just going to keep growing and keep growing, keep growing over time. So this one, what I've done is I've said, okay, I want to see a stock in an uptrend, at least a short-term uptrend, and I want to see the Bollinger Bands being as tight as they've been in the last kind of 6 months, right? And what you get is a lot of kind of moves like this, right? Where you get a big strong push up and then a sideways chop. So a lot of bull flag looks. So monster would have been great, but that was actually on there the 12th. I missed it, right? That would have been a banger play for the 13th, but nothing there as well. So let's go into this Bollinger Band squeeze. For people who don't know, right? Sometimes it's referred to as the TTM squeeze. It's basically just looking for Bollinger Bands that have gotten incredibly, incredibly, incredibly tight. Right? They're just they're shrinking in over time. So everything here will have some sort of look like this, where they're getting just very, very tight. Not necessarily in an uptrend, but just, you know, the stock is getting kind of unreasonably tight. The logic behind it is that if you slap Bollinger Bands on anything, boom, like that, you get periods where the bands get really, really wide, and then they get really, really tight. And then they get really, really wide, and then tight, and then wide, and then tight. And what you're going to try to figure out how to do is, when they're tight, then guess the direction, because we know that price is not mean reverting, price trends, but volatility is mean reverting. Things go from very volatile to not very volatile. And that's what the Bollinger Bands measure. So if you were able to guess BMY's direction right back here when the bands were tight, you can see that they get super wide again as the stock starts to move. All right, now they're getting tight again. If you get the direction right, you know you're going to get some kind of oomph behind it, right? It's been explained to me always as a coiled spring, right? The tighter the volatility gets and the tighter and tighter it contracts when it let go, you're going to get a big move, because there's two things that can cause volatility contraction like that. One is people stop caring. And I think you can, see if people stop caring. You go, okay, this just doesn't move. The other thing that can happen is that there's a battle going on between the bulls and the bears, and the battle, they're fighting back and forth and back and forth, and we're waiting for one side to give up and the other side to win, and then you get those pops, right? Quick question: what's your opinion on counting Elliott wave styles? It's subjective, like anything. As in the CMT, we've studied Elliott wave, so I know enough about it to speak on it. The benefit of Elliott wave, it keeps you in a trend, so you're trading with the trend. You're counting either impulse waves or corrective waves. So that's something. Again, it's a system like anything else. There's no magic to it. There's no magic for relative volume. There's just not. However, that doesn't mean there's no magic anywhere. So it doesn't mean it's any worse than any other system. So again, if you wanted to get into it and you wanted to make it your thing, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So that's all that. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Just understand that there's no magic, so risk management's important. I'm a strong believer that kind of come hell or high water, your win rate will be in the neighborhood of like 50%. If you can get a win rate of 40% with a good risk reward, you're gravy, right? So, again, it keeps you in the trend, so I think it's fine. Just test it, right? Test it and know there's no magic to it. Sounds like a situation where you might want to straddle with options. Yeah, that could be. Because if volatility is decreasing via the Bollinger Bands, then probably implied volatility is decreasing as well. Problem with straddles is you're paying the premium on both ends, so you need such an insane move to kind of break even on it, right? So, I'm fine with that, but it just means you just need such a big move in order just to make any kind of money. So that can be difficult. I'm going to get into, I've been saying this for ages, but right, we had a baby and that kind of put everything on hold. I'm at some point going to get into premium selling when it comes to options. I apologize. 1 second. Sorry, the dog was not happy with the man delivering my supper. He thought he was going to attack us. I apologize for anyone who has dogs and their dogs are now also attacking probably random things. Isn't the risk management the thing that saves most strategies? The risk management is the thing that saves all strategies. This is a unpopular opinion, but I think that most strategies would work if they're trend following in nature. We can get into a whole rant, but I kind of don't want to. But the market moves. The market is not normally distributed. It has fat tails, which essentially means that trends persist longer than they should. So I think if you find any trend following system, even down to like a 30% win rate, which is very common for trend following systems, and apply the proper risk management to it, over the long run, you'll be fine. That's just my opinion, is that it is that risk management side of things that really makes the difference when it comes to anything. And I think as soon as traders like I can say over and over and over again to traders, you'll only be right half the time. Right? You'll only be right half the time. But until you like really get that in your system, I think you're going to have a hard time. But as soon as you do, I think it makes everything way easier overall when it comes to things like that, because you're just like, hey, you then just shrug off risk. Like every trade that I take, I just assume I'm going to lose on it, because I know it's like over half of my will. So it doesn't phase me. It doesn't bother me when I lose on trades. So I would say, yeah, I'd say you're 100% right. And I guess what I'm doing is I'm going even further. I'm not saying most, I'm saying all trading strategies are saved by risk management. That's why if someone comes to me and asks me about any indicator or system or style, I go, okay, if it's trend following and it's systematic and it has good risk management, do it. It's more about finding the one that resonates with you than finding the one. Like, another thing that I'm getting really interested in is what they call the strat. Seems a little culty, I'm not gonna lie. They seem like good people, but it seems a little culty. They've got, what I like about it from looking into it is it is a very systematic way to trade. A very, very systematic way to trade. You know, they classify all candles as a certain number, and they need a certain series of setups in order to work. So it's very, very systematic in that way. And I think that's great, because I think that's all you kind of need in order to, in the long run, be able to take profits out of the market. Right? Same as with what Brian Shannon does with his anchored VWAP. I think you could take his VWAP pinch, you could apply it into a trend system, which is, we're going to build that into trade ideas very, very soon. They're working on my ability to anchor VWAPs to certain places. I think you could take that simple trading strategy, and I think that could make you decent. It's about having expectations that are realistic as well, right? When I say anything could work, I don't mean anything is going to make you $1 billion. I just mean over the long run will make you profits in and above what kind of the overall market might look like. RTN. Nice little kind of cup and handle look in this MRTN, eh? I kind of like the look of this one. MRTN. Right, so again, I like the fact that you can see earnings right here. It's in selling off down to support. Whatever happened in earnings, don't care. The market likes it. And then up we go. Right, holding this kind of anchored VWAP. And then what I'm using anchored VWAP a lot for is my entry. So what I'm going to do now, just to make it simple, is a close over this anchored VWAP, which is at 1825 or so. That's my entry. So it takes that subjectivity out of this. Now I know this one's boring. It doesn't move very much, but hell, I'm not finding a lot that looks good. So we're going to call that, 1825-ish, and I don't know, 1725. Right? So I'm risking $1, then I eyeball it and I say, what are the odds that I think we could get $2 or double my risk? Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. So we'll check that out. So guys, I am almost done scanning. If you have any charts you want me to look at or any questions, now is the time. Again, I never know how many people are here, because I would get distracted if I kept that up. I don't know if it's 50 or 1 or 0. You let yourself in here, dog, and then you immediately see the door close, and then you're mad that you're in here. They could live to be 1,000,000. They'll never learn. Yeah, so I am done my scanning. So again, I'll open this up to live Q&A. If there is none, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the screenshots, right? I compile them all together. I huck them up to the blog post that I do each night. So anyone from Stats Edge Pro, you'll get that all kind of tidied up and ready for you in just a minute after the stream. Again, there is a place to sign up for my email list on my website. Link is in the description below. I don't spam. I never give the email list away. I'm not going to do that. I know you locked yourself in here, but that was your own choice. So if you're interested in when I will probably start, I used to send out emails when I would start streaming. I may do that next time just because I'm changing the time, and we'll just see. How does it work for me? How does it work for you guys? That kind of thing, right? So no questions came through for what you're looking for symbols to look at, so that's fine. I appreciate everyone for coming out. I'm going to take off now and kind of prepare all that stuff for everybody and send it out. As always, I appreciate anyone who comes out. If you want to pop a like on the way out, that's fantastic. And I will talk to you guys soon. Hopefully more videos coming out soon as we kind of get back into the swing of things with hopefully a baby that sleeps from time to time. I'll talk to you later.